Andor, Star Wars' latest series to come from Disney Lucasfilm that was just yesterday announced to be dropping on Disney Plus September 21st. Now, there's a couple of things about this announcement that were a bit surprising. First of all, the date, September 21st, was a few weeks later than people expected. But secondly, we also found out that 3 episodes were coming. And if you've heard me talk on this channel before about how some of the streaming wars are really working in terms of ratings, what we talked about when Obi-Wan's own announcement came out, you probably already know where this is going. But we're going to share a bit more information than the last time. So stay tuned. Let's get into it. Renegade Online. Well, welcome back, folks. Another great day here at Valiant Renegade. It's good to see everybody out there. And if you are like one of the many folks watching this video that are not yet subscribed to the channel, please take a moment, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, share this sucker out on the social medias, and of course, do leave a comment before you head out the door today. We've got to talk about Star Wars Andor. We've just got the new trailer dropped on Monday, August 1st. Looks actually like it could be really good. I have to admit, I did enjoy Rogue One. It might be the only kind of shining jewel in the crown of, or at least the very tarnished crown of Disney Star Wars. It was a fun movie. I enjoyed it. Obviously, everybody enjoyed the last 10 minutes with Darth Vader, but Diego Luna is a tremendous actor, and I'm looking forward to see what he can do in this show, although I probably will not be watching it right away. I've kind of been kicked in the head with Disney Plus one too many times, and I don't even have Disney Plus right now. So, but I will find one way or another. I'm sure I'll watch it later on if somebody, once the show concludes, I'll probably get to it and take a look and see. But I want the show to be good. I hope Diego Luna in it is fantastic because he's been fantastic in everything I've ever watched him in. And I think it plays inside of an era of Star Wars that a lot of people really like, the classic original trilogy era. As long as they don't go mucking things up, changing things around one way or another, to some extreme degree, I think most people will be happy. And that's exactly what we want to talk about today. Disney needs a win with the show. I think this show is going to really start helping launch the Disney advertising-based tier for Disney Plus. So, as we always do here on this channel at Valiant Renegade, we put Hollywood through the business and financial lens of reality. Let's talk about some of that reality. For that, I want to start with this great article from thatparkplace.com. Make sure you're checking out thatparkplace.com and WDW Pro over there. And you can find WDW Pro here on Valiant Renegade from time to time. We just had a great live stream together on Sunday, July 31st. If you're looking to catch the replay on that, we had a lot of great discussions there along with Cameron Pasha. You can find that on the other Valiant Renegade channel, which is called Renegade Online. There's a link on the homepage of Valiant Renegade. Take you there. That's where the live streams are archived once they've concluded. But we've got this article here from That Park Place from Manu Lopez, and I want to read just a few pieces of this because they are spot on. Of course, we've had these conversations in the past with Pro about what Disney is doing, like they did with Obi Wan Kenobi, with trying to bang away at those Nielsen numbers for opening weekend to really get the show's premiere up the charts, to make a PR win, claim that they had the biggest premiere of all time on Disney Plus, which they managed to pull off with Obi Wan Kenobi, thanks to doing multiple episodes on the premiere. And now it looks like they're doing the same exact thing here with Andor. So Andor delayed, will retcon Star Wars, attempts to boost ratings, and releases its trailer. And again, like I said, the trailer looked pretty good. I mean, cinematically, it's very attractive. It looks to me a lot like classic Star Wars. Now, whether that actually turns out to be the case when the show premieres, we'll find out. We've got a few weeks before that happens. It's already getting spicy with Lucasfilm's upcoming Star Wars series on Disney Plus, Andor. After Kenobi failed to even be in the same ballpark as Stranger Things in terms of ratings, and after it dropped out of the top 10 streaming shows immediately after its finale, we're going to talk about that, there may be trouble ahead for Andor, and that's likely why Disney coupled the new trailer with an announcement that the show would start off with 3 episodes, not 2 like Kenobi, but 3. That's important because Disney may be looking to use those 3 episodes to compensate for potentially lackluster viewership and claim that the 3 episodes increased streaming minutes are some sort of record. Perhaps releasing the 3 episodes all at once is a way to bolster their Nielsen ratings at a time when it seems Star Wars interest is waning. And I could not agree with that statement anymore. That is 100% dead on. I didn't talk to Manu before he wrote that article, but apparently he's been watching my channel and talking to Pro, and no, he's a smart guy. He knows what's going on. But he's absolutely 100% correct in that assessment, and that is exactly what the Walt Disney Company is doing with this. So they figured out with Obi Wan Kenobi, hey, that worked. We threw the first 2 episodes out. We got a kind of a big record opening. We can say the most amount of consumed watch time for a premiere on Disney Plus ever. For most people, it goes right over their head that the amount of watch time available for that premiere for Obi-Wan was twice as long as anything else they've ever put out for Star Wars before on Disney Plus. It was twice as long as the biggest Marvel shows. Now, I know there was one other Marvel show that premiered with 2 episodes, but it was relatively unknown. It did not have the following that Obi-Wan had. So again, that was a first. So now they're trying to ramp this up with Andor, right? They're trying to get this going so that people will load the box up front and see what Disney can pull off in terms of a win, because they really need a win. So let me tell you what's going to happen here. This is my prediction at this point, is that we have a Disney quarterly financial report due Wednesday next week on August 10th, following the market close on the New York Stock Exchange. It's going to be around 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. And just as kind of an alert, I might be, I'll have to check on the scheduling here, but I might be doing a live stream that afternoon in tandem with that financial report. We'll see. I'm going to try to, if I can get back to the studio in time to do this here, we might do a live stream, so stay tuned. If not, there certainly will be a video on that report very shortly after it concludes. But that being said, what I expect Disney to do in that report is Bob Chapek to come out and announce when the advertising-based tier of Disney Plus will actually launch. They have been hinting now for months that it would happen later this year. Well, we're in later this year. And September 30th is the close of Disney's fiscal year 2022. Fiscal year 2023 begins on October 1st. So originally I said it would probably start right around October 1st, right as the new fiscal year launches. That would be perfect timing. Now with Andor coming out with 3 episodes being moved back a couple of weeks to September 21st, I think that gives us a pretty good chance of having the ad-based tier launch on September 21st or very shortly before, in tandem with Andor. Because if Disney Plus wants to load the box for Andor, boost as much viewership and watch time as they can to have a really good PR story, because that's what you need to sell to advertisers. Those kind of stories is what allows you to charge higher and higher rates for advertising, is to be able to say that Andor's premiere was just a blowout success. And hopefully, I think that's going to launch the ad-based tier for Disney. Let's see. We'll find out next Wednesday. I might be wrong, but we're going to be relatively close. And the show, as a reminder to everybody, is 12 episodes long. And I think that's why they pushed it back a few weeks. They wanted to keep the season ending when it was originally intended to end. But at the same time, they wanted to start with more episodes up front, because these episodes are probably not much more than 30 minutes long. With 12 episodes, we've never had a 12-episode major show on Disney Plus before that I can recall. They've all tended to be around 6 to 8 episodes. Now we're getting 12. Tells me that they're probably 30 minutes apiece. But in order to load that box, in order to get as much watch time available in the opening weekend for Andor as possible, they wanted to push back the release 2 or 3 weeks so they could take those first 3 episodes and combine them without having either a massive gap between that and episode 4, or without having to disturb where the finale for that show is going to be, because it's probably going to help timing the lead in to another show after that. And Disney doesn't want to disturb that scheduling, especially now that the advertisers are coming in. So again, all this seems to fit together. Now, on that notion, let's talk about what the ratings are, because Disney does have, at the end of the day, they still kind of have a lack of interest in Disney Plus for a lot of these Marvel shows. They have a lack of interest in these Star Wars shows on Disney Plus. Let's be honest. Even Obi Wan Kenobi, even though with all they could say how well it did on Disney Plus, that's all fine and dandy. When we compare it to its peer group, when we compare it to other things out there using the same system of measurement, it really didn't do all that well. Now, we've talked about Nielsen numbers before. Let's take a look at something that Manu Lopez mentioned in his article for thatparkplace.com. This is the Nielsen streaming measurements. And again, these are done in minutes. We can look here and we can see streaming persons 2+ total minutes viewed week of June 27th to July 3rd. This is less than a week after the finale of Obi Wan Kenobi, less than a week later. And we can see here that the show had already fallen out of the top 10. During the week that it premiered, when Nielsen captured that data, it was in around the number 5 slot with about 700 or so million viewed minutes, and it's completely gone the next week. And if you look at some of the other names on this chart, June 27th, July 3rd, I mean, Peaky Blinders, The Bear, Ozark, there's a lot of shows on here that had been out, new seasons of, had been out for several weeks at this point. A lot of these shows have a lot of staying power. They don't just immediately fall off after they binge drop. Stranger Things, of course, that was during the premiere week of the final season. But if we went back and looked at previous weeks, you would see that even though Stranger Things had dropped its first part of season 4, back on the same day as Obi-Wan, week to week, even though all episodes had come out on the same day, that thing held the number 1 spot for the entire month of June by a mile. I mean, by 10 miles, and it wasn't even close. But it just has that staying power. Disney shows do not have that staying power. Heavily front-loaded, and then they kind of fall off. And if that sounds familiar to you, you're probably not wrong, because if you watch this channel enough, you know we do those box office videos. And just to remind everybody, hey, they've got the same problem at the box office, do they not? A big early audience, a very front-loaded audience that delivers these, relatively big opening weekends for these Marvel Cinematic Universe films. People show up, they're averaging around $140 to $150 million on an opening weekend for Thor: Love and Thunder. They will probably average 140, 150 million somewhere, and they'll probably have that same average for Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever. But what's going to happen with that is probably just the same thing that's going to happen with all the other Marvel titles, is that it's going to fall off very sharply after that opening week. The numbers are just going to dwindle, and that's been the pattern for Marvel. That's been a big problem. It's been a pattern for Disney, and that pattern for Disney is unfortunately seeming to continue onto Disney Plus. They have a built-in brand awareness of, well, it's Disney, it's Pixar, it's Star Wars, it's Marvel. And that audience they have that rabid fan base for those kind of things that will show up, be the first people there. But the problem is the word of mouth is not sustaining these things. See, most good movies, the people that don't always show up right away, they might on day 2, on week 2, or something along those lines. But the problem is that the word of mouth for Disney is not what it should be to drive new audiences and new eyeballs in. Was Obi-Wan a good enough show for people to tell other people to go watch it? People that might not even be Star Wars fans, to just say, hey, the story is amazing, the story is well executed, or something like this. It didn't have that kind of draw, at least not, I think, to the extent that Disney had hoped. And I think that's why after its final week, it disappeared from Nielsen altogether, whereas you have other shows that are very critically acclaimed, where people are saying they're just fantastic shows, fantastically written, they enjoy it so much, and the key thing is rewatchability. We're seeing that with Amazon Prime shows. We're seeing that with Netflix shows. We're seeing that, hell, with Peacock and Paramount Plus, even in some cases. We're not really seeing that with Disney Plus, and that's been a big problem for them, both on the big screen and the small screen. Now, will Andor follow that pattern? Time will tell, but we're not real sure yet. But let's look at some of the comparative metrics for that final episode of Obi Wan Kenobi, just so you can get an idea of what I'm talking about. Now, as I've said before, I've kind of lost a little bit of faith in Samba TV over the last several months. I think their measurement systems are getting a little bit goofy. We also know that Samba TV had recently signed an advertising deal to work together with Disney to help Disney basically reach new customer bases, to bring in new subs, new eyeballs, measuring Disney Plus. And Samba TV does partner with a number of folks like Disney. So it's not like Disney's an exclusive only member of Samba TV. But again, I want you to pay attention to a few things here. 1.8 million U.S. households watched the season finale of Obi Wan Kenobi on Disney Plus in the first 5 days. 5 days of its streaming. So there you go, 1.8 million. Now that sounds fine and dandy, but then let's compare it to some other things that came out around the same time. 1.5 million people, or 1.5 million households rather, watched the Part 2 premiere of Better Call Saul's 6th and final season in its first week. Now, 300,000 less than the rematch of the century between Obi Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader. And again, over its first week. So that's 7 days compared to Disney's 5 days. But again, Better Call Saul also premieres on AMC. That's still a traditional cable channel. Probably most people that are still watching this show, they're watching it as it debuts live or it premieres on its regular time slot. This is a show that has a time slot on AMC, on a traditional cable channel. And some people like me might rewatch it the next day on demand, but most people are watching it on its typical time slot. But that's pretty close to Obi-Wan. 2.7 million people watched the premiere of season 19 of The Bachelorette. 2.7 households. 2.7 million watched season, almost 20 years into this goofy show with The Bachelorette. And that's how many people are watching it on its premiere night, because it's on broadcast television. 2.1 million people, or 2.1 million U.S. households, watched a movie, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, a movie that had been in theaters for nearly 2 months, that most of the people watching it on Disney Plus had already seen in the theater. 2.1 million people watched Doctor Strange in the first 5 days of its streaming. 300,000 more than around the same time that watched the season finale of the rematch of the century. 3.2 million U.S. households watched Stranger Things Volume 4 or Season 4 Volume 2 in its first 4 days on Netflix. This was the Season 4 finale, those 2 episodes. In the first 4 days, not 5 days, 4 days. So imagine if they had measured this over 5 days, it probably would have been over 4 million that watched that, as compared to the season finale of Obi-Wan. And here, The Gray Man, a brand new, random Ryan Gosling and Chris Evans action movie on Netflix, not tied to any major IP, not tied to any major franchise, just a random Ryan Gosling action flick. 3.5 million views in the first 4 days in the U.S. households on Netflix. 3.5 million. So as you can see, there's a comparative issue here. These shows that Disney Plus is putting on are just not getting the traction, and Disney really needs a win. So they need Andor to be spectacular. They need Andor to bring in audiences from outside the Star Wars fan base, or that core fan base that just keeps showing up, no matter how many times Disney Lucasfilm and people like Kathleen Kennedy slap them right in the face. That's going to wane over time. And I think, again, that parkplace.com is totally correct. This is a waning fan base that Star Wars, that Disney needs to address. So I hope Andor is spectacular, but given the history, I don't know if that's going to happen. If it does, I'll probably go back and watch it. I'd be happy to watch a good Diego Luna show, be it Star Wars or not. But Disney has got to get in one with this for the advertising base. That's what all of this maneuver with Andor is centered around. This is centered around launching that ad-based tier on Disney Plus, getting as much watch time up front to get those Nielsen numbers to what they had, like they did with Obi Wan Kenobi, saying we got over 1 billion minutes viewed in its opening 3-day weekend for this show. That's what they want to be able to replicate with Andor. So they're going to put those 3, likely 30-minute episodes together, get that 90-minute mark, drop it out. Disney wants to try to set another record to make the advertisers happy. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. It's good to see everybody out there again. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe and share this sucker out on the social medias. And until next time, take care.